You can begin.
Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our brothers and sisters around the globe. Welcome to the eighth online gathering of Young Theosophists. To start our gathering, let us start with a few moments of silence. May I invite everyone to close your eyes, or you can leave it half open. Just turn your gaze downward to avoid distraction. And let us take a few deep breathing first to relax the body. As we feel our body becomes relaxed, you will notice that our emotion will follow. And so let our emotion be calm. Let us watch our thoughts in our mind as it come and go, and try to notice the gap in between our thoughts. As we go into silence with our normal breathing, we can mentally say one as we breathe in and mentally say two as we breathe out. This is to help us concentrate and stay in silence. Be aware of our thoughts, our emotion, body, and surroundings. As we are all gathered here in the eighth online gathering of young theosophists, may our hearts and minds be one. May the divine blessings be with us during this gathering. and all the time. A pleasant day to everyone. We may now slowly open our eyes. Once again, good day to everyone. Welcome to our gathering tonight. I am Armilin Matela, and I am a member of the Golden Ring Theosophical Lodge in the Theosophical Society in the Philippines since 2016. And I am here to welcome everybody and to moderate our gathering tonight. So, we would like to be as organized as possible. So I am requesting everybody to please keep our microphone on mute if we will not talk. And we are encouraging everybody to please open your camera so that we can see one another and hopefully to connect with one another through seeing our videos through the camera. And of course, we are also encouraging everybody to interact actively to our speakers or to our panelists through the chat box or through using our reaction buttons at the bottom of our screen. So we can do that. So today, um, we are gathered here to talk about the vehicles of consciousness. So without further ado, let us welcome our first panelist tonight. He is a member of the Theosophical Society in Cuba since 2011, and he is a president of the Theosophical Lodge Kuthumi since 2013, and the national treasurer for 5 consecutive years, a lecturer at the lodge's sessions in La Habana and Matanzas cities, a lecturer at several national conventions as well. He won't be able to join us tonight for some reasons, but he had prepared something for us to listen. So let us all welcome Brother Rigel Menéndez. So Brother Raphael will be sharing the screen.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you, in my case, for the first time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, my brothers and sisters from all around the world. Hello from Cuba. And well, I am recording this video because it is not possible for me to participate directly in the Zoom meeting with you, my brothers and sisters. But when I received the invitation to to work with you to talk about this subject, I simply loved the idea. And I said, I'm going to try, I'm going to find a way to do it. And this is the way I found a video, 10-minute video, in which I'm going to share with you my ideas in relation to this subject that I consider is a very important one. It is the vehicles of consciousness. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the personality, the lower self. When I think of vehicles of consciousness, there is a book that comes to my mind. It is a remarkable one, and I love this book. It is by I.K. Taimi. It is Self-Culture. It's a book that we use in our elementary course in Cuba once and again. This was one of the first works I read when I came first to the Theosophical Society, more or less 10 years ago, and it is something that I've been reading once and again. And the thing that I really like from this work is that Tiny shows us not only the constitution, the composition, the function uh, of the bodies, but he shows us the way in which we could and we are called to do this. We are called um, to transform ourselves, to modify these vehicles of consciousness in order to make them better tools for the manifestation of man in these planes of existence. Man has a very complex constitution, and this constitution is the different bodies that the consciousness that is only one acting through these vehicles of I would say clothes in different planes. But these vehicles serve as a means to for this consciousness to interact, to get information, to interact in these planes of existence. And there is one that is the outermost uh, body, and or I would say the outermost nucleus of consciousness, or unity of consciousness, that is called the personality, the lower self, or the jiva in the Vedantic terminology. If we imagine a sphere or concentric spheres, we have the center, that is the root of consciousness, is the highest plane, and we can imagine the periphery of the sphere. And here, this is the symbol for the physical plane. So we have three bodies: the physical body, we have the emotional body, or we say the astral body, and then the lower mental body. If you look from below, because sometimes, and it is my consideration, in these subjects should be treated from above. But anyway, if we want to, the very time he says that you should go from the known to the unknown. Okay, so when we consider these bodies, the first thing to take into account is the constitution of the bodies. Of course, this is just a 10-minute video. I'm not going to talk about specifically. I'm not talking about the constitution of everybody, Okay, and I'm not going to talk about the function of the structures of the body. I'm just want to give you an idea of what I think about this. The things that we have to consider are these ones: constitution, function, control, purification, and sensitization. When we talk about the structure, I mean the constitution and the function, this allows us to objectify the bodies, to see the bodies as something that is not ourselves. They are instruments. They are, as Tiny says, living machines with a purpose. We have to treat them in the proper way. If we give them more attention than they deserve, that is a problem. That is going to be a problem. But if we forget them, we say, well, this is a personality, this is something unreal. Okay, to a certain point it is unreal, it is illusory. To a certain point, of course, it is something that is not going to transcend in time, in a longer period of time. But on the other hand, personality is like the leaves in a tree. The leaves in a tree have a specific function. Leaves in a tree has a role to play. They have, a role to play, and of course they serve to the tree. It is the same here. We know about the constitution and the function. We objectify the bodies and we say, the real man is not a body. I am not a body. I am not the bodies, not even the lower mental one. Because most of us can separate ourselves, theoretically speaking, because this is another issue. One thing is the theory, another one is the practice, and the knowledge serves to the practice. So we can objectify the bodies by knowing the constitution and the function, and then the next step is the control of the body or the bodies. In this case, it has to do with discipline and practice, constant practice, constant discipline. It has to do with the materials we are going to, or the kinds of matter that we are going to use to conform the bodies. It could be the physical, the astral, the emotions in this case, the same one, and the lower mental one, the thoughts we are going to allow enter our atmosphere. And of course, in the physical, it has to do with the kinds of food, of course, the exercise, the breathing, many things. But it has to do with discipline and practice. And then we have the purification of the bodies. The purification has to do with the nature of the material in itself. I mean, it is in this case, this control leads us to the purification, that is the components of the the matter that conforms the body. And after that, the sensitization, that is the vibratory capacity of the matter. And we get to this point through meditation. And well, knowing this, we have a task. We have the task to do. This is self-transformation, and this is an ever-deepening understanding of the reality of what we are not, in order to get to know who we really are. And well, I think this is going to be all. It is short, but I hope you like it. And okay, I'm going to watch you on YouTube. So goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Brother Rafael, for sharing the video of Brother Rigel. And thank you as well for Brother Rigel for preparing this video for us. Even though he is not with us at the moment, but I believe that he is with us um, in his heart and in his mind. So before we go to the next panelist, I would like to remind everybody that the transmission in our YouTube channel will stop the transmission after the four panelists have shared their thoughts on the topic. Okay, so without further ado, let us now welcome our second panelist. He is a member of the Theosophical Society in Russia since 2015, and he has been holding a weekly meditation and life program for the Russian speaking countries. And he is also the vice president of the Renaissance Lodge and the director of the Siberian Theosophical Center. Let us all welcome Brother Andrey Shubenkov as he talks about the higher manas, the higher trinity, the Atma Buddhi Mana. Brother Andrey, the screen is yours.
Okay, welcome everybody. Have a good evening, good night, and good day, whatever you have in your native place. Firstly, I want to share the screen, and it's an honor for me to talk in front of you. Okay, is it visible now? Do you have the screen shared?
Yes, we
shown?
can see it now.
Okay,
yes, we can see
you.
it now.
Okay, my task in this panel discussion is to talk about the higher self or the higher triad. And first of all, I want to talk about the first very thing that we have. That is the Atma or the soul, you can say, not the soul, the spirit, the very unified entity or unified self, unified, what's the proper word? The very unification of the whole life, the very source of everything. This thing is beyond our mind, beyond our bodies, beyond everything. It's beyond our mundane world or the physical world. But at the same time, out of that, we have, out of the emanations which are coming from that very Atma, that very source, we have the reflections on all our planes. It is manifesting itself on each plane. And since it is the very source of all being, it has its own existence, but we cannot really say what it is because it's not really, it is beyond our feelings. It's beyond our ability to comprehend. But at the same time, it is the gate for us to go to that state, to that what is called nirvana or nirguna, depending on which confession you are using to express this thing. And as this source, this spirit goes from there to us, goes down to our planes, to the planes of our existence, it's very light. The light itself consists out of all our reflections. Well, it's not really like that, but it is having a source on that plane which is not achievable to us. But we are every entity which is living in this earth, every creature, every atom, every thing which has a consciousness has the reflection of that very source, of that very light. And on this picture, you can see lots of stars, and you can say that all of them are reflections of that very light. And the deeper it goes to the different planes, the more different qualities the entities which are reflecting that very light are having. And therefore, they are fulfilling their duties, their dharma, you can say, their nature, to do the things on a certain plane. So that very source, that thing which is not really easily achievable to us, is shining out there. But at the same time, we are receiving its reflection and we are having the connection to it. And not only we, but each and every entity in this world. And out of that, we are receiving the rays of buddhi, or the intuition, or the feeling of love, compassion, unity, the care, and everything else, everything which is connecting us to it, and it is connected to us through that very buddhi. And the rays are multiple. Rays are going to all the sparks which we are having in our physical world, all the sparks which are the sparks are having its what's conductors, its vahanas. Yeah, it's every spark has the numbers of bodies to fulfill their duties, and each spark is receiving that very light. And the light is that intuition, that buddhi, that right message, which is going to the proper place, and each spark is able to receive the information which is needed for that very entity. The sparks are many, but all of us have the one which is correcting our personal consciousness to that very Atma. And here is the structure of our consciousness of our, not the consciousness of our uh, instrument, how we receive it. So here above you can see the Atma, and out of that there is a ray of Buddhi going to our higher mind. I have to say the difference between higher and the lower mind. The higher mind is the thing which is able to receive the pure information, that very Theosophy, the divine wisdom or the wisdom of the gods, depending on which translation you prefer, which it is receiving the direct message of that ray, that Buddhi, that intuition, that love divine, that pure information, the pure truth. And as long as this mind is remained pure and it is not having any pollution of our thoughts, emotions, or something else, as long as our attention is directed towards that very Atma, we are able to receive the information. At the same time, as the moment we start to pay our attention to move our focus to our feelings, our emotions, maybe some good emotions or bad emotions, it doesn't matter so much. As long as we move our attention to comprehend the physical world, we are moving away. But there is a point, the point in the middle of it. We are able to receive that, not receive, we are able to conduct that very information, that very reflection to the physical world if we are receiving the information of the outer world, as we call it, the outer world, the things which we are comprehending with our feelings, emotions, thoughts, and so on. If we are receiving it with the we are receiving it, and at the same time we are keeping our consciousness in a state of perception of the Buddhi, and without diluting our attention, without removing it from the pure essence which lives inside us and inside each and every being. It's a pretty difficult thing to do, actually, but it is possible to see that there is a number of practices, there is a number of ways, there is a number of tricks people are using to be able to comprehend it and to do the job. But of course, all of us are having some troubles in it, and we are able to perceive at our present moment, to perceive just a bit of that enlightenment, of that purification of our consciousness now and then. And there is, of course, a long way to go for us to get to the point when we will be able to constantly reflect that Buddhi information, that Buddhi message, the message of unification, the message of unity with each and every being, the message of seeing the sparks in each and every entity, in each and every atom, in each and every consciousness on all the planes. And yes, just in 2 words, since we are having too little time, that's the main idea of how Atma, Buddhi, and higher mind are working. Thank you so much. That's all for now.
Thank you, Brother Andrey, for sharing with us your thoughts on the higher manas, the Atma Buddhi and the manas. So we have heard about the lower self and the higher self, as what Brother Rigel mentioned a while ago, that the body is a living machine with a purpose, and that purpose is um, or the body which has a purpose is provided by our by our higher self, in which it's giving us the message of unity and oneness, as mentioned by Brother Andrey. So now for our third panelist, let us welcome Brother Francis Lim. He is the assistant treasurer of the Singapore Lodge of the Singapore Lodge Theosophical Society and the vice chairperson of the Lotus Circle. His main interest is in the principles of existence and the intricacies of the human mind. So let us welcome him as he shares with us how to harmonize these higher and lower bodies. Brother Francis?
Hey, thank you. Good day, good night, good afternoon to everyone. So I'm privileged here today to share some tips and techniques on how we can harmonize our bodies. So I think firstly we have to understand what hinders us from having mastery over our different bodies, right? So there are typically a few stuff. First is actually the karmic tendencies, where when we want to practice meditation and contemplation, anything to calm the mind, there are always the tendencies that we have developed since birth that runs our thoughts, our emotions, any kinds of trigger that we see or receive through all our sensories that triggers a certain chain of thoughts, feelings, and then followed by actions or desires. And then through those actions and desires, the results come, we reflect or we see, we gain a feedback, and then new cycles of thoughts and desires come out again. And then by then, if we are still not aware about it, then of course the actions will start and then everything will just keep going on and on. And of course, there are very much many ways, many concurrent ways that we can approach this mastery or harmonizing of the bodies. Is that we can practice precepts, right? I think many of us are familiar with precepts, right? Even through faith, religions, or I think recently we have a talk in the Singapore's Lodge that tackles the Noble Eightfold Path, right? So various precepts that stops encouraging the excitations of the lower tendencies, desires, and then stop feeding the elementals or even the thought forms. So to literally release all these kinds of stuff that automatically triggers as we take in information through our sensories body, our sensory centers. So there is also by knowledge, by reading, contemplation, and comparison from the text. Like it's literally the mental world, right? To try and resolve some of the habits that is blind to us, desires, cycles, tendencies, same thing. And then also you can pair it with devotion to service, and through service, sacrifice, selfless giving, all these thoughts or lofty aspirations or desires to focus on instead of lower tendencies, because we could only focus on one thing at one time, right? And also, last but not least, by meditation. And of course, meditations, there are many, many different types. There are mindfulness ones, there's like contemplation, there is reflection, visualization, like visualizing if the best version of your spiritual self, or visualizing that you are your higher self. But there's one that I love the most is actually from this book, which is the Yoga of Light. Yeah, so it's through dissociation of the lower bodies. So as to not be affected too much by the tendencies, it's like desires all twisted into a spring ready to be triggered. So what I will be doing today is to lead a short guided meditation. Not fully this version. I have some stuff slot in between to give a better introduction and have a better feel of how we should visualize all these steps. So let's do this, right? Let's relax our bodies and harmonize our emotions. Now, become aware of every single inch of your body, every single inch of skin, and every ounce of flesh. Starting from the head onto your face, to your neck, and your shoulders. Then to your torso, your hips, your thighs, calves, and your feet. Become aware that the sensations that we feel of emotions is nothing but sensations only, not the true emotions, as emotions are nothing but colors. I am not the physical body. I am the spiritual self. I fill my body with vibrant life. Now, with awareness in your body and proximity, gradually withdraw and defocus from the physical body, tuning in to the subtleness of your astral body. Visualize or observe the colors of your astral body. see the swirling of vibrant colors within the membrane of your body, like colored smoke in a human-shaped bottle. I am not the emotions. I am the spiritual self. I feel my emotions with abundant love. Now, gradually withdraw once again and defocus from the density of your astral body, tuning in into the subtleness of your mental body. This is the plane or the body where the intuition flashes occurs. The interpretation of those images and language. I am not the mind. I am the spiritual self. I fill my mind with infinite light. I am the divine self, immortal, eternal, radiant with spiritual light. I am that self of light. That self am I. The self in me, the Atma, is one with the self in all, the Param Atma. I am that self in all, that self am I. The Atma and the Param Atma are one. The spark, which is the underlying principle of our spiritual self. the monadic flame. I am that. That am I. Now, into the formal mind, illumined and responsive to the intuition, into the emotions, irradiated by spiritual light, into the body and powered by spiritual will, inwardly vitalized and self-recollected throughout the day, remembering the divine presence in the heart, the inner ruler immortal, seated in the hearts of all beings. Relax the mind and permit the uplifting effect of this meditation to extend into all the other activities of the day. May all beings know peace. Thank you. Yeah, the meditation has ended, and I hope that you will sort of understand the essence of this meditation that and the state of vibration you are in right now. So every time you get into a sort of a trap or vicious cycle, take a breath and gradually ease into this same vibration and feeling. Yeah, it comes a lot faster the more we practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Francis, for the wonderful guided meditation. It is really relaxing, and I agree that really meditation helps us in different way. And as you mentioned, that to harmonize the lower and the higher self, we should not be affected too much by the tendencies of the lower, and let our higher guide us. And how do we achieve that harmony is through the practice of meditation. So thank you, Brother Francis, for that. And to move on to our last panelist for this gathering, let us all welcome Brother Cristosol, a member of the Theosophical Society in Mexico since 2017. He is a Freemason, and he has been studying and practicing Buddhism and Taoism for over 9 years now. So let us all welcome Brother Chrysosol as he wraps up our gathering or the discussion of the three panelists and talks about the purpose of the soul in its evolution process. Brother Chrysosol?
Hello, everyone, brothers and sisters. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Well, I'm going to start this presentation, and let me share my screen. Please let me know if you see it.
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to start this by doing a brief reflection of these questions. Part of what we talked throughout this meeting is that the answer of these questions: who are we? What are we made of? Where do we come from? And where are we going? So in order to respond these questions, first we need to understand what are we made of. So we have talked about the lower self and the higher self. And we see that we are basically composed of four things. We are composed by the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, which consists of two parts, the higher and lower mind. And also, we have to understand all of this in order to identify ourselves with what we truly are, because we are not the lower self. We are the immortal self, according to many cultures and many spiritual disciplines, is that we are not these bodies. We most of the time we identify with these bodies, and we suffer because we don't know who we are. So in order to understand that, we first need to understand what we truly are. So what is really the purpose of these vehicles? Because all these vehicles are to be used by the consciousness, by the real I, which is behind all these identifications, false identifications with emotions and the mental, the mind, the thoughts, and the physical body. So we should understand first what we are in order to understand who we are, which is a very, very important question to answer. Okay, so what is the purpose of these vehicles? What's really the purpose is the law of evolution, because our soul it's in a process of evolution. So all existent things, material and non-material, are made of the same spirit energy. That's what Theosophy has taught us throughout the ages. Our thoughts, emotions, words, and actions are made of the same substance. Therefore, there is no separation. All things in our lives are connected. By understanding this, we can become more responsible and conscious of our role in this universe, particularly the human plan of evolution towards the transcendence of this fourth realm, the human realm, into the fifth realm, also called the fifth dimension, the realm of free souls. Because we see that there are four realms: the mineral realm, the vegetable realm, the animal realm, the human realm, and also the fifth realm where this humanity should go forward. It's the fifth dimension, which is the once we reach enlightenment and we reach the consciousness of unity, it's when we are truly free from samsara, or the cycle of birth and death. So that's really the essence of the vehicles that we use in order to achieve this goal. Because no matter what we do, no matter what we don't do, we should be using this knowledge in order to achieve that. That should be really to be very, very important, is to understand the goal of all this, because and the meaning of all is of this process is the evolution of the soul. So all beings are in this process. So our soul incarnates in this human form in order to remember its spiritual nature, which is beyond this Maya, or realm of form. To achieve this, we are tasked to strive to gain control over the lower self or personality. As we become conscious of each plane, our consciousness begins to expand. Each expansion is an initiation into the realms of the spirit. Because we also see very often in many schools that there's this concept of initiation. So what's truly initiation? Initiation is a process of expanding the consciousness in order to be fully aware of the spiritual planes, of these invisible planes that are beyond the mind, beyond the lower self. So we see that the human being is between these two, between the physical or concrete plane, which is the physical plane, and the higher planes, which are spiritual, are non-material. So in theosophical terms, we call this rupa and arupa, which is form and formless. So this process is when we become initiated into these planes, into these higher planes. So we're not talking about the symbolic initiations that many schools offer, such as the Freemasons or the Rosicrucians offer initiations. We're not talking about those initiations. We're talking about the true initiations, which many beings throughout the ages have obtained, such as Jesus, the Christ, the Buddha, Mahoma. Many avatars in this process have achieved. And we're talking about that initiation. We're talking about 7 planes of existence. Each of these planes have an initiation. So each initiation is an expansion of our consciousness. Okay, so matter, energy, and consciousness is never created or destroyed, only transformed. Therefore, each of our periods of existence in this realm, short or large, is a degree of advancement. All future glory or suffering is a result of our actions here and now. If we remove the concept of linear time, no energy or effort is ever lost as we live our lives on this physical plane. Then we can be confident that in reality, all is perfect and all what happens inside or outside of us is meant to be according to the law of evolution. Then our responsibility is to make the best of our lives and be compassionate in every step we take towards the ultimate goal as humans. There's a concept in Kabbalah, which is it's a phrase we often Kabbalists used to say is Gam Tzu Le Torah, which means that all is for good. No matter what we do or what we don't do in our lives, we all have the same common goal. Whether we are in the school of ignorance, in the school of learning, in the school of wisdom, no matter in which school we are, we all are going to knock the door of initiation or knock the door of spiritual enlightenment, because that's really no matter what we if we live in ignorance, if we don't do our work or whatever, it doesn't really matter, because each life is a level of progress towards that goal. Right now, what we're studying, we are seeing that when you start studying these concepts or these theosophy or any spiritual practice, we say that our karma is accelerated because we are making an inner work that is going to require us to change the way we think, to change the way we perceive things, and thus we're going to accelerate our karma, and we're going to achieve the goal much sooner than others, because we are currently in this spiritual path. So this means that no matter what happens to us, all represents a degree or a degree of evolution or a degree of advancement towards our ultimate goal. So what we can do here is to accept what Blavatsky says is the law of all laws, which is the law of compassion. Compassion is the ultimate law. So by being compassionate to ourselves, to other beings, to our fellow brothers and sisters, we can all empathize with each other in order to accept that we are all here for the same reason. So that law of unity is very important to understand, because we all share the common goal and we all want to be happy. We all want to be loved, and we all want to love. So in order to obtain that, we first must understand what we are, which is this subject of the 7 vehicles of consciousness. So we are invited to walk the pathless path. So what is this? Each individual must find the pathway which is the most aligned with the soul. There are 4 basic activities to develop the soul: meditation, study, service, and rite, or ceremony or ritual. A study is expansion of the mind. Develop faith in the object beyond the mind by understanding its nature. This path requires a leap of faith in order to reach the higher planes of the soul, the higher mind, in order to attain enlightenment. Meditation is to reach the inner planes of the self by developing intuition, which is a higher form of getting knowledge beyond the intellectual mind. Higher forms of meditation involve the emptiness of the mind, because the ultimate truth of Buddhism, for example, it's a form of meditation which you accept that everything is empty. So if your mind is empty and everything is empty, then you realize the essence or the things as they are. So when you reach that point, you reach enlightenment. Other path is service, which is selfless and loving service to other beings, developing unconditional love, which is another. Is this path is also called karma yoga. And the fourth one, which I included here, is ritual. It's a synthesis of the other three, which involves invocation and evocation of spiritual entities or forces in order to achieve changes or expansions of consciousness. So for each of these four paths, there's a multitude of schools that will serve this path. For example, meditation can be approached in many different ways, like Buddhist, Kabbalah, or many other schools will serve into this path. This ritual, there's also Tantra yoga, there's also Freemasonry is a school of rite or ritual. So these four activities I encourage you to take practice on, because it's really what's going to develop our soul towards our common goal. So just to wrap up this a little bit, our ideal is to become like this pyramid where action, speech, feelings, and thinking, our thoughts, are aligned with the being, with the self. So this means that our thoughts, our actions, emotions, and words should be aligned to our true self. So we must be congruent in order to achieve this, because our ideal is to become like a triangle where our actions, our words, and thoughts are aligned. Our emotions, actions, and thoughts are aligned with the self. Because most of the time we think that by doing something we are being. No, I mean, we first need to know what we are in order to know what to do, what to say, and what to feel. So that's really the process that we should be taking. First, know what we are, and then align our actions, our thoughts, and emotions with this true self. And just to end this presentation, I would like to quote this Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, which he said, "When you get free from when you get free from views and words, reality reveals itself to you, and that is nirvana." And thank you also so very much for giving me the opportunity to talk here. I think this is a very important subject, and I think that once we understand this, that we are not our vehicles, that these vehicles are rather tools that we use in order to reach our goals. I think we can have a tremendous change in the way we see things and the way we behave. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Brother Cristosol, sharing it with us your thoughts on this. And I believe also I also agree that we are studying these vehicles of consciousness, and it is not only to understand our true nature, but to understand that we are in an evolution, that we are all evolving from our physical emotion and our mind and our higher self as well. And you mentioned a while ago, and I like this phrase that you said, our responsibility is to make or to live the best of out of our life, and be compassionate in every step that we take. Be compassionate not only to the other beings, but be compassionate with ourselves. Be compassionate with not only with the human beings, but all living beings, because I understand that we are here para it, as what Brother Andrey said, that it is the message of oneness and unity. So thank you so much. And I also, before we end the transmission in the YouTube, I would like to ask the panelists if you have a few words to tell before we close our transmission in our YouTube channel. Brother Andrey, are you still here? Do you have last message for our viewers in the YouTube? I think Brother Andrey is not here. How about Brother Francis?
Yes. I think really other than doing the meditations, this is something that we can do. But one of the key things here is to really contemplate and to challenge every understanding that we have of the different levels of the consciousness and the bodies. So yeah.
Thank you, brother. How about Brother Cristosol?
Yeah, I just would like to thank all for having this panel with us. I think it's very important that we are, as Theosophists, understand that it's very, very important to practice, because it's not enough to study or to go to lectures, to go conferences or whatever. It really doesn't matter. What we do, what we think, and the practice we embrace, it's really of the utmost importance, because I think it requires discipline in order to practice this triangle that I showed you regarding meditation, study, and service. So we must know what path is the right one for us. I think that is very important. We have various tools. For example, we have this concept of the 7 rays, which our soul and our personality is aligned to these rays, and thus each of the rays has a path. Many authors have talked about this subject. So I think it's very important to identify what path works best for us and embrace that path and practice each and every day. One path that I really encourage you to take is, for example, meditation. A simple mindfulness meditation of 5 or 10 minutes can really change your day. I think that this world doesn't need more people that study or that talk about this subject. The world needs practitioners. The world needs people who practice theosophy, not that simply talk about it. And oh, I'm theosophist because I belong to a lodge. No, you are theosophist because you practice theosophy. So I think that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Cristosol. And so we have to remember that, yeah, I agree. We have to practice really theosophy. And as we go along this way, we, at least for me, I cannot say that I am a theosophist, but I believe that I am a student of theosophy. And we remind ourselves to always study, meditate, and do service to other people. And always remind ourselves, as mentioned by our panelists, I am not the physical body, I am not the emotion, I am not the mind. I am the spiritual self. So let us all remind ourselves with that phrase. And so I would like to thank our viewers in our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening to us and spending your time with us. See you next gathering. See you next month.
Thank you all very much.
We
Goodbye.
can now we can now end our transmission.